pets in the facility? If not, what are the plans for it?
Yeah. Initially, I shied away from trying to resolve the dog issue, really. Obviously, if there's a service animal that they come to the shelter with, that service animal would be allowed. And I've been, there's really no shelter that I operate. I operate a lot of shelters where we accommodate just the general pets. However, this site might lend itself, and we had some directives in terms of what we would need to do to provide some kennel space. And so I'm really thinking about, by the time we open up, we may be able to assume responsibility for some pets, but done in the proper way, the humane way, the way that the animals are protected, they're fed, they have water, we are able to clean up after the animals. But this would be unique for me, but we are seriously looking at providing so that we can get folks who would otherwise say, I'm not coming into the shelter if I can't come with my animal. So I think we can actually accomplish that. It's not excluded from our agreement, and we actually have directives about how to make that happen. So I'm really close to making that part of the deal.
I think we had one in the back. Please.
Thank you. Hi, my name is and I am the University of California Cooperative Extension Youth Families Communities Advisor with the Farm and Home Advisor Department. Our office is located close to the location of the homeless shelter. I support the nutrition programs as well as the 4-H Youth Development Program in Placer County. I'm here today to share concerns regarding the location of the temporary homeless shelter and its proximity to our building for our 4-H Youth Development Program. During the work week, as well as on weekends, we frequently host projects, meetings, workshops, and events at our office for both youth and adults. Youth often drive themselves to these events, arriving and departing at times when clients of the shelter may be waiting for the facility to open or have just left the shelter in the morning. Our adult volunteers, youth members, and staff have expressed concern for the safety of youth given the proximity of the Farm and Home Advisor office to the shelter. As I share these concerns, I appreciate your consideration and understanding that we seek to prevent any potential incidences rather than react to them. Thank you for the opportunity to voice these concerns today and for considering the safety of our youth in our community as you finalize plans to meet community needs through this shelter.
Thank you so much for your comments. Mary will show the rest of us where they're talking about. Thank you. Someone else?
Oh, there you go. My name is, I work in telecommunications, which is in building 304, directly adjacent. I would like to know what is going to be done to prohibit loitering before and after clients are allowed into the facility. Knowing that staff will be there at 3 o'clock, what's going to keep them from starting a line at 3 o'clock?
Again, part of what we're going to do is message these concerns that we hear today and that we've heard from county representatives with the population, meaning at the same time we're going to say, we can't have you loitering around out here for hours, you have to leave the area. That's now going to affect the folks 3, 4, or 5 blocks, a half a mile away. The point is, we're not going to encourage that. We're not going to encourage the fact that people will congregate before a certain time. We can say, listen, if you show up here 2 hours early, you're going to be put at the back of the line, not at the front of the line, so we can dissuade that from happening. We understand that this is a business center and that you all have to show up for work, and you're concerned about whether or not somebody's going to be messing around with your car, but you're going to and from your building to your car. We've got to make sure that you are all considered in this equation as well. One of the things that I'm somewhat noted for is making sure that I understand what the issues are of my neighbors, whether it's a business across the street or right next door, or a neighborhood of families that might be somewhere in the vicinity. I have to run my programs to be reflective of what your concerns are. So the messages we will be delivering to those folks coming for services is they cannot impact. If we hear stories we will respond to it. We will make sure that we target this, and that's why the biweekly meetings are really set up so that we could hear back and see how we're doing, so we could take action. I don't stand up in front of you as the kind of advocate. I truly am an advocate for the homeless and those that are suffering, but it's not just my way or the highway. It's the way that we as a community want to address this issue. So I will listen and I will respond and I will make sure that we don't affect that. So you won't see 20 or 30 people gathering 2 or 3 hours before, because we're going to ensure that's the message we have to deliver. You cannot do that. You cannot gather that way, because it'll affect you, and as such it'll affect us. And the future of even having some shelter somewhere in Auburn is going to be affected by what we do here in those 3 months. So you are one of our neighbors. I'll probably be visiting you all regularly just to get input on what's going on and how it's affecting you. So,
Leo, I'm sorry, I
Sure.
have a follow-on question, sort of a related question, one of the
Okay.
3x5 cards, which is simply, what will the shelter occupants do, or where will they all go all day when the shelter is not open?
well, I've been asked that question about 10 times in the last couple of months. We're not a 24-hour-a-day shelter. And they're going to go where they go. They're going to seek some of the services that are in this community. We have mental health services here. They're going to be accessing those services. They are going to be cooling their heels somewhere. I don't have an answer to that. I don't have a good, clean answer. I don't have a legitimate or honest answer to give you. But what we won't do is we won't have them camping around the facilities. Now, if we were a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week shelter, which I suspect the Robert Marbut final solution will be a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week shelter, then it's a different situation. Then we can capture the population and work with them and make sure that they're not affecting the broader population. But this is a 16-hour-a-day shelter, essentially. And those 8 hours that we're not open, I can't dictate where they go from here. I'm just being totally honest with you. We'll encourage them where they shouldn't be going, and we'll be monitoring where they do go so we can try to impact that.
I'm pleased to see we don't have a bashful crowd, so we've got multiple hands coming up. So here's a question back here.
Good morning. My name is. I work with Placer County Public Health, and I was wondering if Volunteers of America accepts donations for this cause, and if so, is it drop-off donations at the site, or if monetary donations are given, if we can assign it to things like the animals or...
Very good. Well, absolutely, we would accept donations. In fact, I'm going to be having the churches that are involved in this, and there are a number of churches and faith groups that are involved in this activity, part of the Right Hand Auburn group, and we don't have a lot of money. We have enough money to operate this shelter for those 3 months that we're talking about. And these are dollars that don't come from a government source, but rather private contributions. So wherever we can get donations, whether they be toilet paper, honestly, toilet paper, towels, soaps, razors, all these sorts of things that would be essential for someone who is needing to clean up. And let me speak to this cleanup issue. It's very, very important that the shelter allows for everyone every night to take a shower if they want. There's plenty of restrooms, there's plenty of shower facilities, but we need to be able to accommodate that. So every day, we should see folks leaving the shelter, hopefully in clean clothes, having been deloused if they find that they have an issue, to be honest, to be fed, if not 3 meals a day, at least some meal so they have something in their belly. They'll be rested. This is the thing, if you saw Robert Marbut's presentation here about a month ago, he spoke about one of the tragedies of homelessness, and that's not being able to actually get enough rest, because sleeping outside, it's not a good 8-hour sleep. So all of a sudden, we're going to have a population of 47 people per se each night that are getting 8 hours of sleep, if not more. They're going to be fed, they're going to be showered, they'll be cleaned up, and I guess your question was around donations. We obviously will be set up to do that. I don't quite know. During the day, nobody will be there, so it's not like maybe, we'll figure that out. We'll figure that out. But we obviously will welcome any donation, support of the animals, cash donations to make ends meet. But yes, we really hope the community will support it.
My name is, I'm also with Telecommunications right next door to the facility. Question is about what does the security look like? I understand that they'll be screening for intoxication, for weapons, for sexual assault charges, those kind of things. What does that screening look like, and what happens to those individuals when they're denied access?
The folks that present at the shelter extremely intoxicated become a risk to themselves or to others. And those folks would not be allowed in the building. Well, that's a good question. This is where we want to work with law enforcement, very closely with law enforcement. Our experience over Christmas, over the Christmas holiday, was that nobody presented that way. Of the 60-some folks we saw, nobody presented that way.